Okay, well, first of all, hi, I'm really glad to talk to you today. I'm glad that we have this technology so we can. It's Allison Rieger Cook, actually go by the pen name ARCook. And I am the author of, it's a young adult fantasy historical fiction series called The Scholar and the Sphinx. These are the first two books. There'll be a third one out early next year. And I attended Iowa from 2001 to 2004. Actually graduated a little bit early. And I originally attended Iowa for playwriting. I thought that was going to be my writing focus. But some changes came up in life that kind of changed that path. After I graduated, I was actually went back to Riverside, Illinois. That's actually my hometown. I was there for about 2 years. And in the time I was just writing on the side, I was actually working at a moving company for a couple of years in their billing department. But the nice thing about that is I still had my evenings. I could certainly still write. But then we moved down to Gainesville, Georgia, my husband and I, and that's actually where I'm calling from, right? And for a while when I moved here, I was doing what jobs were available. I worked in a call center. I worked at a therapy clinic for a little while. I actually eventually worked at a children's book publishing company after a couple of years. They do children's picture books. They're called Peachtree Publishers. They put out great books. And that was certainly interesting and educational for a writer to really see the publishing side of everything. I was actually their conference coordinator, totally different from, but to see everything that goes behind the scenes, the editing, the putting a book together, the thousands of submissions, because Peachtree takes unsolicited submissions. So the submission pile, you go into the back room, there's literally thousands back there. So it's fun to go through all of those. And there were actually some good submissions. But then after a while, I found out that Brenau University had a position in their publications department. And the main determining factor for that was, did I want to keep driving 2 hours into Atlanta to work at Peachtree Publishers or take a 5-minute walk down the street to work at Brenau? So it kind of became a pretty easy choice at that point. As much as I love Peachtree, you can't beat the commute from here to Brenau. In 2003, I actually published my first book. Although actually, before I forget, University of Iowa helped me with my very first publication, official publication. It was a 10-minute play. It was part of the 10-minute play festival that the theater department has every year. And it's available through Hewer Publishing. The university actually submitted it, and so that's my first official publication. I cannot forget that. While at Iowa, I actually had lots of, I'm sorry if I'm breaking up a little bit here, had lots of chances to actually, I think I had 6 during my undergraduate time there. There was 6 short plays, which I think for an undergrad actually is a lot. So then the playwriting changed to novel writing when I came down to Georgia, just because back in Illinois, I was much more part of a theatrical community. Once I got down here, I was, for a while kind of alone. It was just me and my husband. I didn't know anybody. And novel writing is more of a solitary activity, so it switched to that. To get published was a long journey because there's lots of different avenues you can go. But the one I really wanted to try to get traditionally published first. I just want to see if that was something. So I pitched one book for years that never got picked up. I think I pitched that one a good 100 times. Nobody was interested. And then I started pitching. I pitched it about 65 times, I think, according to the list I kept. But right about that time, right after pitch number 65, I was a historical fiction, historical romance publisher called Knox Robinson Publishing. They were a couple years old, and they were looking for new work. And I thought, well, I do young adult fantasy. There's some historical fiction in there. It's not quite the right fit. But what have I got to this camp? Any different? A couple weeks later, they said, oh, the first 3 chapters were interesting. Can we see the rest? And I thought, okay. I've been at this stage before where somebody said, oh, that sounds interesting. Can we see more? So I sent it in. And a short while after that, they contacted me again and said, we'd love to offer you a contract for Scholar and the Sphinx. And at the time, I was actually alone when I saw this, so nobody heard my screams of joy when this happened, unfortunately. But that's how it got started, and it's been a very interesting journey ever since. So I've just kept working on that for now. And like I said, I do write in the evenings and in my free time, but I'm also writing during the day at Brunel University since I'm in their publications department. They do press releases, school events, things like that. So I'm kind of constantly writing, which it's good to stay in that vein to keep writing. So I know I just talked for a whole lot just now, so I hope that was informative.
That's great.